welcome back to another episode of the Love is Healing podcast. If you don't already know me, my name is Magnolia Heaton, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified integrated mental health practitioner, certified mental health nutrition specialist, certified in NET, certified in EMDR consultant in training. I am a shamanic Reiki master teacher, and a lot of other things. We're here in this podcast because we have conversations, particularly through storytelling, on integrated mental health, addictions, life in general, complex trauma. And our aim is to fold. One, to entertain, and to give you something to listen to that is of substance, that is also a positive influence. Secondly, to help you connect with other people through the art of storytelling, connecting with their stories, figuring out, discerning how your perspectives are similar and different. And the ultimate goal is to help cultivate empathy within the world as well, at large. And with that said, I haven't checked the analytics lately, but I want to say thank you so much. I alluded to it in a different podcast episode that I recorded that I haven't launched yet. But thank you so much for allowing us to hit over 500 downloads. That is really exciting. I love this project. I really don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I'm really grateful and excited about it. Now, I didn't want to end season 1 quite so soon, but I am guided to do so. I still have a few episodes in the queue. Right now, what's happening is I'm traveling up the East Coast of the United States. That's actually a journey that I've wanted to do for a really long time. It's been a minimum of 23 years that I've been wanting to embark on this journey. If you don't know, I'm originally from California. My family is from Mexico. I am Mexican American, and we have 3 states over there, and that's it. And California takes up the majority of the coast. I've not been to the Pacific Northwest yet, and that's because I haven't been drawn there. I've been drawn to other places. And so right now I'm on the East Coast, and I'm traveling. And one thing that I want to do with the podcast and the channel and just Love is Healing LLC. So firstly, I'll say that, I've been wanting to take this trip for 23 years, go up and down the coast. Exciting. I'll say that I've traveled already all the way from Florida through North Carolina. And so essentially we took this trip. We want to hit all 50 states. And so we started off in Tennessee, and I guess Arkansas counts, right? We've already been there, but okay, so there. And then we went up to Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio. From there, we went to Massachusetts. So Boston was our next major stop. And we went up through Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, came all the way down, and went to New York. Been there before too. Lived in New York City. It was great. Actually, we were there for the World Cup final, which was really exciting, which I didn't watch. Mostly because I was like, oh, there's a lot of conspiracy theories around these, and I believe them, and they feel true. And it proved true to me. And historically, I liked Argentina because I'm a Latina, and that's what I went for. But I don't really feel as much of a connection anymore. So I don't know. I just really like Mexico team. But even I watched the World Cup, and I watched at least a little bit of every one of Mexico's matches. That's my team that I like. And it was fine. I just don't feel as connected anymore. Again, because of the conspiracy theories mostly. So that's you. If you can connect with that, let me know, because I'd be interested to connect with you. Now, another thing is that I really want to get into the astrocartography, and I like astrology in general. I grew up with it a lot from the Western astrology. Yes, or I think you'd call it tropical astrology. And I also grew up with a little bit of the Maya astrology and it is Maya, not Mayan. Took a class in that in college, UC Riverside, specialist on Maya civilizations. It's just something that we always talked about in my family, period. Then it has been tricky to navigate and reconcile because I also grew up really Catholic. But, I have learned that the style of Catholicism in Mexico, by and large, is folk Catholicism, meaning that it incorporates a lot of the indigenous beliefs as well. And so that's what I primarily identify with. And it was great. And it worked when I was in my hometown. When I moved out of my hometown and then I started being an undergrad, it became complicated because it was dominant culture, which like is fine. I live here and I choose to live in the United States and I love the United States. And also I couldn't connect with it as much because it was more religious and spiritual. And a lot was missing. And then that's kind of when like the Catholic shame set in. Oddly enough, it didn't hit when I was a kid and I didn't feel a ton of shame when I was a kid. But when I started to try to connect in college and I really was desperate for some kind of spiritual connection, I couldn't find one. And so it is tricky, and I'm here for the in-betweeners, for other people like myself who are intelligent, passionate, kind, see that we're all interconnected, that we all love God, we all love our Creator, and we have questions. And we also see the value of astrology and different things like that in the Bible, and we acknowledge that the Bible has been really tainted and that a lot has been hidden from us. And that is the most candid I've probably been. And it's taken a while to be here. And I'm just here to just be a role model because I need a role model. And it's tricky. And so many things, especially on social media, are very polarizing. Now, I keep some of the major accounts that I follow to myself because I really use them as self-care and I don't want to like find clients on there and stuff or have people find my comments per se. So I keep them private. But I'm going to share one today. And before I do that, I want to say if you can give us a follow on at Love is Healing LLC on Instagram and at Love is Healing Podcast on Instagram as well. I would sincerely appreciate that. Tag several people and we will give away a free reading right now. This is in July of 2026. So we're going to take entries through the next month and we'll be able to give a free service by the end of August. We can do like a mini Reiki session or like coaching session, emotional curing session, something like that. And so, yeah, tag people to enter. And share our podcast if you find this valuable at all whatsoever, because I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't feel that this provided substantial value and it has a lot of potential. And honestly, I would do this for free, and I am. And I would do this even if nobody listened, just because I feel like I have this purpose to get all these topics out there. And as I continue to step into that and really own this identity, I am finding more alignment, and I'm grateful for that. And I am seeing that it is really a big part of my life's mission and my life's work and divine purpose to connect people within different spheres of my life, because it feels like things are very siloed. They have been. I think historically that's part of the map that has kept us all very separate and dichotomous. And there's strength in numbers. And the more we know, the better. I have a mentor, Dr. Kevin Dieterman, who is a chiropractor, who says, if they knew what you knew, they would want what you want. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So I'm here to tell you what I know so that maybe you can want what I want as well, right? Be healthier and stuff and see other possibilities and things like that. Now, going back to the astrocartography again. I am traveling the East Coast. I have recorded videos and I have taken photos throughout my time and travels. And I will go down that path. And as I continue to travel through 2026 and probably in the future, I will continue to post more on that as well. I've traveled substantially, honestly, 2025 and 2026. I don't post much on social media. And I was listening to a YouTuber that I really like, whose name I will not mention, but she said that she's saying something about like, hey, look, like if you have a social media, like just put it all in one place. That's one of the challenges that you're having right now. Put it all in one place because you want to put yourself in little neat boxes, and that's not what your purpose is. That's not going to capture the fullness of who you are, and you won't feel fully free until you're able to capture everything in one place. And I'm like, man, it's like the companies Instagram, but I guess I'm the visionary, I'm the CEO at the end of the day, like, sure. And I teach everybody that's in our staff things. So, like, does it make sense for me to, like, be here and talk about different things that I'm studying, that I'm teaching my staff? Absolutely. So, I guess. And you get to see who's leading. So, that's cool. And with that said, I will say that presently I am recording this from Washington, D.C., and I have a lot of thoughts on this. Now, I've not been to Washington, D.C. in the past. It's my first time here, and I have recorded several videos, so I don't exactly know what I'm going to be posting, but I'll say that historically, I was very much in the Matrix, and I was very type A. And in an alternate timeline, in an alternate universe, the choices that I would have made. And it's funny because, like, I think it's curious that these choice points kept coming and coming and coming in my life. But if I had made all those choices, what would have happened was, like, I would have become a naval officer working on submarines. I think it was an intelligence officer for the United States Navy. Would have gotten out. And I think, I can't remember, I would have had a full ride scholarship anywhere. So, like, let's just assume that, like, okay, cool, I got out and then I went to school. And I would have wanted to become an intelligence agent, so a CIA agent, if at all possible. And then I would have wanted to move to Washington, D.C., probably for that job, but also would have wanted to work myself into a position in politics. And I'm like, man, that is just so drastically different from where I was. And I'm not knocking anybody for that. I'm saying it just isn't my path. And I, here in Washington, D.C., am on my crossing between my moon line and my Neptune. And so I think it's curious because true to what the astrocartography says, it's funny because it says, and I didn't read it before I got here, so it happened, and then I'm like, oh, interesting, it checks out. I like to talk about Helena Woods, and so that's what I was going to mention earlier. Helena Woods is an astrocartographer, and I love her work, and I just started really getting into it because I just discovered it here, I want to say at the beginning of June. So it's only been about a month and a half, and I really binged her podcast. Love it. Resonated a lot with her and her placements, and her personality is very similar to mine. I think she's a bit more, her energy is more outward and mine is more internal, but it's like a lot of movement, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate how unapologetic she is in many ways, and how she just lets herself be seen. That is something that I really value in a person, and probably in a content creator. Yes, I'm becoming okay with liking content creators. There's only a handful. I mean, like, I think I have a Cancer moon, and I just, when I commit, I commit, you know. Anyway, but I'm picky and choosy about to whom I commit. Nonetheless, I'll say that, yeah, she says that things can be very literal when you're in an astrocartography line. And it's funny because mine talks a little bit about how, like, you could get sick or something like that. And guess what happened this morning? I spent all day yesterday in New York City. Like I said, we had the World Cup final over there, so Argentina versus Spain, which is pretty neat, pretty cool. We were walking, and then we were over there around, we weren't on Fifth Avenue, but we were on Avenue of the Americas, and we were at about 51st Street, and I was trying to make it a Times Square, but I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, and probably they're playing the World Cup there, and maybe we'll just find a train and we'll go, like, down uptown. But I thought that, and we were keeping up with the World Cup. All kinds of people on the street speaking Spanish, looking at their phones. I was like asking them, "Hey, what's up? How's the game going?" And then I heard it, and we were there by Rockefeller Center, and I was like, "Oh no, the game is over." I hear the cheering, and I'm sure the crowds are gonna come here, and they did. And like that's cool in some ways, and time froze, but also it was with my kids, and I was like, I just don't want to get caught up in a crowd. And terrorist attacks in the United States are not uncommon, sadly. I was like, I really don't want to be here. So then all day, like I don't know what they're called, but like the bike taxis, they kept catching my attention. And then I don't know, I was just like, what do I do? What do I do? And then I ended up finding a bike taxi. It found me. And dude was vibing, he was playing the guitar, and he was just like in it, and I was like, cool, this is it. And so I just made that decision, went. I'm in human design. I don't know what it's called, but I'm a sacral person. So like, yeah, it's just like boom, in the moment, cool. And so that's what happened. Went several blocks on there for like almost 30 minutes, and it was enjoyable. Again, dude was vibing, and then he like let me pick songs and stuff. So guess what we listened to? Bachata and some bolero too. So, because if you don't know, our intro for the podcast is a bolero song, and so that's what that is. Anyways, and so it's cool. He so shout out to, his name is Ishmael, but I'm not sure. So he's Iranian. I think it's Ishmael, something like that. And shout out to him. He speaks Russian and Spanish and English and Farsi. And I can't remember what else, but I'm like, that's so cool. Dude was super passionate, super upbeat, cool, young. Like, it was a vibe. I was like, man, this is cool. And like, he was rooting for Spain, and that's cool. And so he was like honking at anybody who would see be in Spain. And it's curious to me that pretty much uptown, everybody was going for Argentina, and then as we went further south, closer to Brooklyn, because we made it all the way to Herald Square, and yeah, everybody was Spain over there, so that was pretty curious too. And then I got caught up in another crowd over there too, but it was a Spanish crowd rather than Argentinian fans. Nonetheless, I was walking all day, back to my original point, and wasn't drinking much water. So like, that happens, and it happens every time that I go to New York because I get so excited because I really love the place and it's so much energy and it's really cool. And then my environment in human design is mountains, so it helps give me perspective to be in such a bustling environment, and I think about people and different things like that. And I think over there too, I am also, I'm pretty sure I'm also on my moon and Neptune crossing. So anyways, yeah, I get very sentimental and intuitive and feel into humanity suffering and things, which is pleasant. It is very pleasant for me. Cancer moon. And so yeah, then we came over here to Washington DC, happened to find meet up with one of our therapists, Anna, if you look at our website, and she happened to be in New York City because of the wildfires that were going on in Canada. Her flights kept getting canceled every day, and I was like, look, like, I'm gonna pitch this idea. You want to come? Cool. You don't? Great. Not offended. Just throwing it out there. We're going to Washington DC anyway. If you want to hitch a ride with us and catch your flight there rather than NYC and risk getting canceled on again, you're welcome to. So she did. We took the 5-hour drive. I've never been to DC. I've been in New York City, been to Jersey, hadn't been to the surrounding areas. So we went through Philly, went through Baltimore, and that was cool. And a little bit of Delaware. It's a fun ride, fun time, great memory, love it. And yeah, so here we are. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, oh man, I'm dehydrated. And like, I got the headache and I started getting nausea and things like that. And so it goes. So yeah, the astrocartography line, Washington, D.C., that's what that is. And it also talks a little bit about career and that's cool. I'm really thinking about my career choices. And then my husband was asking me, he's like, how do you feel being here? And I was like, do you know the movie The Mummy? And you know, when there's like that guy and like he goes from like looking human and he starts to like dry up and like disintegrate. That's how I feel being here in Washington, D.C. And that's when we were near Chinatown, which I'm pretty sure we also drove through downtown, given the big buildings. I don't know. I didn't research this area. And yeah, it just makes me sad. I'm a social worker. We went to Capitol Hill. That's cool. I thought I'd be more excited, and I wasn't. And then, yeah, I just honestly feel sad. And I did some NET on myself, and I just grieve a version of me that was. Part of me really likes being type A, and it would have been really cool. So I'm telling you that I'm here for the in-betweeners, here for everybody else too. That's totally cool. Like, absolutely, please be here. You're welcome here, and I'm happy to support you in however way I can. Also, for the in-betweeners, I'm like here for it because like, where the heck are our role models, right? They're far and few between. And so, yeah, I was like, I wish. I don't, because let's be honest, like, I like my life. I have done a substantial amount of work over several decades to be able to come to this place where I can live in such integrity. Then there are parts of me that do grieve, like, man, why couldn't I just like shut up in color? Why couldn't I just like be in the military? Why couldn't I follow that? Like, but then realistically, I would have trigger warning here for suicide and addiction. Realistically speaking, I would have been an alcoholic. Like, I don't know how I would have coped with my life if I hadn't done that. And like, given how rigid and structured the military is, it just sadly has not been for me. Like, I thought of joining after high school, after college, and then I was like, okay, look, I'm really going to join like after I get my LCSW, my independent license. And then it came in and I was like, I can't. I have my own business at this point. I can't give up this freedom. It's nice. And to work minimum like 6:40 to, I don't know, 5:30 p.m. Are you serious? That's too much. Plus like other events, and if I supervise anybody, I was like, I cannot, sadly. I wish I could. Sadly. So, moment of silence. And I watched Covert Affairs. I really liked that show. It was on the CIA. That's something that's always fascinated me, honestly, since I was a kid. Like, I heard CIA and like I felt like I could draw there. I'd be curious if I ever meet anybody from the CIA who would like I befriend or something like that. Anyways, and that's honestly what all I've been thinking about here, because like it's based in Washington D.C. and like I recognize the apartment structures and things like that, and like that's cute. And then right now I went to the car that we rented to grab this mic, because I was like, oh yeah, that's right, if you're going to be recording something, then like grab the mic, right? And so I did, and then I noticed that the avenue looked a lot like Mexico City, particularly the Roma area and a bit of like Condesa. I would say that Roma for sure, the street with the trees, but it feels drier here. And then Condesa, definitely the buildings here and like how they're all kind of tightly together. Though here, I guess it is like homes, kind of like Brooklyn, but it's like there's like the basement one, and there's like another apartment here, and then there's one probably at the top floor. So I assume Condesa is probably similar. I did stay in one apartment there once. But yeah. Anyways, I'm digressing a lot. I should probably eat. I'm still slightly dehydrated and hungry. Though I'm here for you, you know? I just want to say hi and that we will be back the first Saturday in August. I'm going to take a short break. It's not super long. But yeah, and so like going back to that, I was like, wow, yeah, I remember being in Mexico City, loving it so much. Holy moly. And I have a moon line there, so it makes sense. But it's so full of culture. I'm coming to find that as we travel the East Coast, definitely I want to figure out another place in which to be based. Like Albuquerque's cool, but I want a secondary home base. And I'm like, I like this, I don't like that. I like this, I don't like that. And I definitely like moisture, especially given the contrast of like living in the desert in Albuquerque, right? And that's cool. And it's a vibe and it serves a purpose. And also, I need more community, I need more movement, I need more water, and I need more nature rather than just like this metropolitan area, which serves its purpose, which I appreciate, but I need contrast. Remember, mountains environment. So it gives me perspective to have contrast in my life. And I just was like driving through town, and while Mexico is very rich in culture, there's all kinds of things there. There's so much food, there's so much color. I mean, hello, it's Mexico. There's music, there's so many people, and just gosh, it's so full of life, and it's bustling, and like you have El Castillo that's there from like the time of the Spaniards, I think like 1800, something like that, maybe older. The year 1893 is what I'm saying in my mind. I don't know what that signifies, but there's that. And there's the Palacio Nacional, which is the current one, their Capitol building. And then there's the Teotihuacan, which is like an old capital, right? And then like it sits on Tenochtitlan, which was the capital of the Aztec Empire. And like it's so cool to have all those empires like on top of each other. And like period. And then just like intuitively when I'm there, one, I feel really intuitive. Two, it just everything makes sense to me. And it's like, did I study Mexican history? No. Did I go to school in Mexico? No. But I just feel it because it's just so alive. Its history is so alive within those streets. Then I just like it, right? And here it's like, I guess it looks similar, but it feels very dry to me. Again, there's tons of people, but being on this line that I'm on right now with that Neptune and moon crossing, it feels very dry. It feels very sad. It feels pointless. And it feels quite depressing. And I wish it were different. I remember being in Mexico City and I was like, wow, how cool. I love it here so much. Imagine how it'd be like in my country. And granted, I feel like I have two countries, right? Like I have Mexico is one of my countries. The US is another one of my countries, but my country of nationality, I guess, or birth. And now that I'm here in DC, I'm like, that's cute. The houses are fine. But I've grown a lot and I've seen a lot since then. Cause like, man, that would have been August of 2019 that I was there. And March of 2019 was my first trip there, actually, in Mexico City. It was a solo trip. August was too. And then I had a boyfriend that lived there, so I visited several times. And I had a best friend that was from there. So good times. And I was in a band and they were all from Mexico City as well. So yeah, it's just so different. And here in DC, I'm like, it just feels really sad. It feels like people here maybe are forced to survive or to shut up in color, have rigid beliefs, and maybe that's a bias, and that's okay if it is. I'll explore that. I think people who live in DC by and large that I've met, and not that I've met many, but like living here, but like it makes me sad. There's not much going on. And you know, like it's interesting because like I've really been thinking about cultural differences in general in the United States. And maybe I'll have another topic on that, another episode on that. But I had spent substantial time in a small town in Texas, and Wichita Falls for reference. And it was fine. People weren't necessarily friendly. They wouldn't say hi to you. It's weird to me. Again, and I cannot emphasize this enough, and I say it all the time, and I'll continue to say it until the cows come home, that I am from California and I am Mexican. And so we say hi. You see someone, you walk by them on the street, we say hi. Hey, good morning. How's it going? Wave. And then living in New Mexico, man, they're just so friendly there. So like you're walking on a trail, you're walking down the street, Probably not down the street, probably not on Central, which is Route 66, which has a lot of unhoused people and addiction. And so probably not there. But like in a lot of parts in the city, you're walking by, you say hi, especially if you're just like on a walk, right? For fitness purposes or for enjoying life purposes. Not here. Smiles didn't work. Waves didn't work. Saying hi didn't work. So it's interesting. Straight up, like even in New York City yesterday, like everyone was so happy. I'm sure part of it could have been the World Cup, but like not everybody watches the World Cup. Everybody was so kind, so attentive, so nice. We spent some time in Boston as well. Same. So I'm just like, I don't know. It's not for me. I need connection and community. And yeah, I've been rambling, but I know that there's purpose in what I'm saying. I actually had a friend hit me up today, and that's because I hit her up first. That's okay. She was like, I'm a little lost. I don't know what to do. And like, I'll look into it. I'm like, girl, let me check out your astrocartography. Let me check out your human design and we'll figure out what's going on. But she's going through a Saturn return. I have a little group of friends, like 3 of them, 4 of them, I guess if you count the guy. But they're a little friend group and they're all going through their Saturn returns, which if you were born between like 1997 to 1999-ish, you're also going through your Saturn return. Please like look it up because the dates I'm not super familiar with. Might even be end of 1996, but I don't think so. Definitely these years though. Look it up because you might be going through your Saturn return, and it's notorious for really having you reevaluate your life. And I think I like it because it's like a rite of passage and it really ushers you into your 30s where you have more clarity and you're more solid in who you are if you do it right, right? If you really allow yourself to see the juxtaposition and see the difficulty and see where you're out of alignment and then feel your feelings, reassess your priorities, and then recreate that alignment instead of ignoring it, ignoring the fact that you're having all this tension in your life. If you can examine it, really own it, and move through it, that's best. But yeah, any recommendations I have there, I guess, would be like start seeking spiritual guidance through whatever means you have, right? Like for me, it was going to church more. And at that time, I was going to a Pentecostal church and receiving Reiki, and Reiki found me. I did yoga too a lot. I was in the gym. I was lifting weights. I was dancing salsa. I was doing cardio. I was very active, which makes sense. I mean, like, it was so much energy that I just needed to give a lot of energetic output. But that helped, and I was just open-hearted, and I asked questions when I needed to ask questions. And I was met with answers. So my biggest thing and advisement, it'd be to seek guidance, ask questions, Google things, find more of a sense of community because can be a really lonely process, and just be as honest with yourself as you can. And if you can find something like an NAT practitioner, I think that's even better because they can help you move through things that are keeping you stuck. So I said that there wasn't going to be an episode, but here we are. Thank you for joining. Like I said, I'll take about a week off or so. We'll be back at the beginning of August for sure. So like, am I going to be back the first week? I don't know. And if I'm not fully back, I'll try to record at least like a little mini episode. I think I'll do another plug here. And I'll say that Ethiopia, Uwert, and myself have a podcast, and though I'd alluded to it in our first episode here in the Love is Healing podcast, they're like that podcast wasn't up and running yet, but it's called the OWL, or it's called the Orgasms, Wisdom, and Love podcast, and we're there. I have more of casual conversations there, whereas here I'm facilitating a discussion, right? I'm part of the discussion over there, and you see a different side of me. So I recommend checking it out, especially if you're interested in sex addiction, complex trauma, parenting. That's been the bulk of our episodes. one of my favorite episodes is the enmeshment episode, which I'm pretty sure is episode 9. Just because enmeshment is so important and not enough people know about it. We're taking a break. We finished our season 1, which I was like, hey, maybe I'll finish my season 1 over here too. But yeah, plenty of nuggets there for you. There are really exciting upcoming guests here, and I am so thrilled and I am so grateful. And again, thank you so much for your support. Really, the more visibility that you can give us, the more valuable you find us, great. And I'm open also for recommendations on any guests that you feel would be valuable to the collective, humanity as a whole, and to this podcast in particular. And if you have any recommendations, do send them to us. You can email us at hello@loveishealingllc.com, and we will vet them and might be able to get them on here. So there's that. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.